The opinions expressed in the following podcast are those of the hosts. Listener discretion is advised. The talkin', nagging, lucha watching, Puro viewing, indie supporting, drinking, cursing, son of a gun of a podcast. Former pro wrestling manager, wrestler, and promoter Dave Dynasty and co-host Ike Isaacs discuss wrestling and chat with others in the business. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
And welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. This is your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us however you do, whether it be on YouTube, SoundCloud, or iTunes. And whichever means you do, please make sure you subscribe, follow, like, and share us. If you listen to us on YouTube and SoundCloud, please leave some comments. And if you listen on iTunes, pretty please rate and review us. That's how we work our way up the charts. And it helps our exposure. Thank you very much. I'm flying solo this week. Ike Isaacs is out of town. It is all peaceful here in the studio. I am pleased. I am happy. Okay, anyway. I was enjoying the moment. Again, I am alone. Ike will be joining us later. He will be conducting an interview with Ricky Reyes. Great talent. If you do not know who Ricky Reyes is, pay close attention to this interview and then go out and check his work. He is one of the best talents in wrestling in the past 10 plus years. He tells stories about working in Japan, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Ring of Honor, TNA. Great interview. You're in for a treat. It's a long interview, so we're going to keep the opening kind of short because there is a lot of substance to the interview. We do have a new Warner's Wisdom with Mance Warner this week, as always. We will all sit around the knowledge tree and let old Madser tell us a story, as only Mance can. While you're out there in the internet world, make sure you visit DaveDynasty.com. You can listen to all of our episodes of the podcast in all formats via the website, and also you can find all of our links to all of our social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, of course. Make sure you like or follow us on all those means. We're always putting content up on those. I'm always on tweeting and posting stuff on Facebook and Instagram. And so make sure you follow us there. And also, while you're on DaveDynasty.com, please visit all of our sponsors, including LuchaMaskUSA.com. There's a banner there to click on to visit them for all of your Lucha Libre needs. Straight from the luchadors themselves. Great stuff. Highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. Great. There's shirts, there's plushies, there's keychains, there's masks, there's stickers, there's everything you can want. If you're a Lucha Libre fan, and if you're not, shame on you. You should be. You can also visit our friends at the Mass Republic. There are 2 links there on the website. The one is for luchaloot.com. If you go to luchaloot.com, enter the keyword Dynasty, you get 10% off your first box order. The Lucha Loot boxes are amazing. You get a mask, shirt, DVD, all kinds of good stuff. Usually an autograph picture in there. Go for the Super Booty or Super Loot or whatever they call it. I don't know what it's called. I don't remember. They're the large ones. Go all out because it's definitely worth the money. Definitely good stuff. If you do any subscription box, I highly suggest Lucha Loot. And then also visit them at luchashop.com where you can also enter the keyword Dynasty and you will get 10% off your order, excluding masks. But they, again, have all kinds of great stuff. That is your official stop for La Rebellion. Merchandise and shirts for Daga, Garza Jr., Penta, Cedro Miedo, and Phoenix. I want to make sure I get the name right, so AAA doesn't send me a cease and desist, so on and so forth. Never mind. We won't go there again. So visit us at DaveDynasty.com to visit all of our sponsors and all of our social media links. And also, while you're there, on the left-hand side of the page, you will see links for Amazon.com and HighSpots.com. Click on either of those and do your shopping. No additional charge to you, but we will get a little kickback from anything that you buy during your shopping, and we do appreciate that. And maybe most importantly, there is a link to our Pro Wrestling Tees store right now featuring the first Dave Dynasty Show shirt featuring our logo. That is the best way to support the show, and we do appreciate your support. We do offer this to you every week for free. And we do that because of the sponsors and the affiliate links and the Pro Wrestling Tee store. All that money anything coming in from those avenues, it's all invested back in the show. It always goes into the production cost. It all goes into upgrading and replacing and buying new equipment so that we can bring you the best we can do. We don't know how good that is, but it's the best we got. But we're always looking to improve and always looking to keep it free and always looking to give you some interviews that you don't hear anywhere else. We were the first to feature Brian Pillman Jr. If you've not heard that interview, go to the archives and listen to it. It is spectacular. But yeah, we try to bring you a lot of young guys, a lot of guys that you don't hear on all the other podcasts. We try to give you some different interviews, some different things, including the new Legends of Indiana Wrestling series that we kicked off last week with Bobo Brazil Jr. Great interview there. Again, you can listen to that in the archives, of course. Highly recommend that. So yeah, we appreciate your support and everything you do. We are trying to bring positivity back to pro wrestling, trying to support the guys out there doing their thing, making the talent, as Manser would say, and yeah, just trying to put trying to stay positive, man, because it's a great sport, great business, great people in it, love them all. So we're trying to do our thing, and we appreciate your support by listening, by sharing, and by, of course, visiting our sponsors and buying a T-shirt. Buy a T-shirt, wear it out proudly, so that people can say, "Hey, what is that?" And you can tell them all about the Dave Dynasty Show, because you are our best marketing, our best advertising, and we do appreciate you. But yeah, so we usually have a little discussion there in this opening bit. We're not going to do that today, obviously, because it's just me. No discussion with just me. And I'm not going to ramble about anything this week, because like I said, we have a great interview with Ricky Reyes with lots of things. So we're going to get right to that. But we will take a little break here from one of our sponsors. And when we come back, we have Ike's interview with the international star, one of the greatest wrestlers that you need to go check out if you haven't already. We have an interview with Ricky Reyes, so stick around.
Visit LuchaMaskUSA.com for official high-quality Lucha masks and merchandise, straight from the luchadors themselves. They have a huge and always growing inventory, so check back often. That's LuchaMaskUSA.com.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I'm your co-host and producer, Ike Isaacs. And today, I am joined with yet another fantastic and wonderful, talented, all those kinds of words, guest, Ricky Reyes. How are we doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Hey, not too bad, not too bad. We're just glad to have you on here, glad to get a hold of you and all that good stuff. All right, man. Well, hey, we'll just jump right into this since we're here to talk to Ricky Reyes about who Ricky Reyes is. So, start off, where are you from, man?
I was born and raised in Southern California, like the Inland Empire area, which is like, I would say maybe about an hour east of Los Angeles. So, like a nice area, like called Fontana, California. I was born and raised there, and then in 2005, I think it was, July, I moved to Philadelphia. So I'm currently, or Pennsylvania, so I live there now. Okay,
very nice. So, when you were a kid, I know this is kind of synonymous with a lot of talent, that they, when they were a child, that they were interested in sports and all that good kind of stuff. So when you were a child, were you into sports at all?
Wrestling first, pro wrestling, and I was like the weird kid at school that was, I guess, that everyone liked wrestling as a kid, but it wasn't cool for a while. So I was the weird kid that admitted to being a wrestling fan. And then as I got a little older, I always loved wrestling first, but I started playing like a little bit of basketball and stuff like through junior high. Going into high school, I was playing like basketball a lot.
Absolutely.
What I loved.
Okay. Pardon me. Sorry about that. But yeah, definitely. So obviously, like I said, kind of playing sports is sometimes a thing, but a lot of people, they say, yeah, sports really wasn't a thing. But so you kind of mentioned a little bit that when you were growing up and stuff that you were the weird kid and stuff like that. That you were the kind of guy that admitted to liking wrestling, and I mean I can relate to that. But what were your first memories as of wrestling, or what were your first memories of wrestling as a fan?
Well, I remember watching Hulk Hogan beat the Iron Sheik for the WWF title. I think it was like Channel 5. Wrestling used to air like every Saturday afternoon. And I remember specifically watching that match and like Hulk Hogan beating him and up and down in the living room like, I think I was like 5 or something. And I remember telling my dad, like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a wrestler when I grow up. And he was just like, yeah, sure, whatever, sit down, And, I mean, really after that, I that's the first memory I have of watching wrestling. I would imagine I probably watched it prior to that, but my dad was a big wrestling fan. Growing up in Southern California, like the Olympic Auditorium, our Madison Square Garden, like all the greats went through the auditorium in downtown LA and stuff like that. So like my dad remembers going there and watching like Santo and Blue Demon and all the like legends come through the auditorium like monthly or weekly, whatever it was.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Madison Square Garden, like you said, that's kind of like a big deal in that area down there. You said, but when you were a kid, were there any wrestlers that you were like specifically partial to that you're kind of fans of?
Well, I mean, like always, Hulk Hogan starts.
Yeah.
Was like the biggest attraction at the time. I always liked, even when I was younger, I always liked more the athletic styled wrestlers. Like I was always drawn to like Macho Man. Was a big fan of his when I was small. I just thought that he was, in my eyes, knowing and watching him over the years, he carried himself as a huge star. You know what I mean? So that translated to me through the television and stuff. So. And then I got a little bit older, and I thought like guys like Demolition were cool, and the Road Warriors. I started watching as a teenager. Started watching more NWA after a while. And then I started noticing guys like Rick Rude and Arn and Tully. Like they were cool to me. Barry Windham, because he was bigger, but he would move fast. And I just started liking more the NWA style of wrestling, because I also was captured by like Jim Ross's commentating, where he would always put out there like, this is wrestling, this is where we wrestle, we're not posing and characters, these are where we're wrestling, where wrestlers come to see who's the best, and I always like was drawn to the competition of it, because of that. I always would tell my friends, I remember when the Brainbusters first came to WWF, Arn and Tully, my friends didn't know who were, and they were like, oh, well, they're just fat guys, like they can't beat Demolition, and I was like, no, you don't know, you don't understand, these guys are horsemen, like they're real wrestlers, and they're going to beat Demolition, even though I like Demolition. And I was like, no, these guys, the Brainbusters, they're legit, like they're real, and in my eyes, the NWA guys were real wrestlers, and the WWF guys were characters, so because the NWA guys at the time just wore trunks and boots and nothing flashy, Flair had the robes and stuff, but even when he took that off, he just looked like another NWA wrestler, except for the hair. But physique-wise, and stuff like that, like even the Rock and Roll Express, like they were more flashier characters compared to other NWA, wrestlers at the time. So I always knew who the NWA guys were when they would come into WWF. So I was drawn more towards the more athletic, technical wrestler guys, I guess I would say. Like I knew Rick Rude, when he beat Ultimate Warrior, that he could beat the Ultimate Warrior, even though at the time, Ultimate Warrior was almost unstoppable, you know. And I always thought, well, you know, he's Rick Rude, you know. He was, I remember him from Texas and stuff, you know, Texas wrestling. I used to watch USWA on ESPN and stuff, and you know, so I was always drawn more to the more athletic styled wrestlers. Like once I got past my whole standard Hulk Hogan phase, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I think everyone has that kind of phase where it's like, oh look, it's Hulk Hogan. He's big and flashy, and you know. And I think once you kind of get past that, you definitely see more of the talent aspect of it rather than the he just boots people and leg drops them. But
yeah, exactly.
So you so kind of talking a little bit more about when you started to become a wrestler, you started training. You did a lot of your early training in California, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
what was that like? What was that?
I'm sorry?
Oh, it was like what was that early training like for you? What was like training over there?
Well, for me, it was kind of easy because when I started high school, I was playing a lot of basketball, like I said, so I was somewhat athletic. You know, living in Southern California, and you play a lot of park ball and recreational leagues, kind of run all year round, and summer leagues are huge. You know, so I played basketball all year round for like a good 4 to 5 years. And when I remember going into my sophomore year of high school, I just woke up one day and I thought, if I'm going to be a wrestler, I have to go out for the wrestling team. Like that has, you know, I have to learn how to actually wrestle. Again, watching, you know, the NWA guys, I remember specifically the Steiner brothers and Mike Rotunda and those guys, like they wore singlets, you know, and they had Letterman's jackets and they were intimidating and like they went to the ring and did wrestling things, you know, like they gut wrench suplexes and Northern Light suplexes and, you know, belly to bellies, like all that stuff was like fascinating to me. I was like, man, these guys, like they know how to actually wrestle. Like, so for me, I thought, well, I need to learn how to wrestle if I'm going to be a good pro wrestler. So I went, to my coach, went to his office one day, and I just gave him my jersey, and I said, you know, I'm quitting the basketball team, and I'm going to try out for the wrestling team. And he looked at me like I was an idiot, and he's like, well, what are you going to do, be a wrestler? And I said, yeah. Like, I know I'm not going to the NBA. I don't care to, you know, and I knew at that time I just wasn't good enough. You know, I want to be a wrestler. Like, that's what I'm going to do. So I remember going to the wrestling shed. It was like a tin shed in the back of the school behind the football and baseball diamond, and it was a legit like tin shed. It was huge, just had one big massive wrestling mat, and everyone hung their clothes on nails on the walls, and it was just like grungy and dirty and smelled bad, and it was Southern California, so it was tin and it's hot. And I introduced myself to Coach Ross, and I said, yeah, I'm here to try out for the wrestling team. And he kind of looks me up and down, and he goes, aren't you a basketball player? And I said, I was. And I said, I want to be a wrestler. And he kind of showing and we're supposed to have off, but the guys would train during the summer, during the day, didn't know everybody. And then once season started, when school came back, you know, I was there. Like, that was it. I just, I knew that I wanted to be a wrestler. So I went through, I remember my first day of practice in high school wrestling, my coach kind of came in late and he sat down and everyone got quiet and he said, you know, there's a lot of people here now and there'll be less come season when season starts. And if you can make it through this, you can achieve anything that you've ever wanted to do in life. He's like, because this will be the test, you know, if you're tough enough to make it. And I already, like, had my mind was made up. Like, I was going to be a wrestler. I didn't know how or whatever, but I knew I needed to make this team, and I needed to, you know, at the very least, learn how to wrestle. So I made the team. My grades weren't good enough to wrestle varsity, even though I qualified for varsity spot. So I wrestled JV all 3 years, and so when I went to pro wrestling, I graduated high school and I wrestled 132, 125 my senior year, so I was really small. And I remember when I went, I took a year just to lift weights and put some weight on, because I was like, I got to get bigger. I got to get bigger. You know, wrestlers are huge. You know, they're monsters, and I got to get big. So I put a whopping 8 to 10 pounds on. You know, took like a year, and then finally found a wrestling school in San Bernardino, California. Jesse Hernandez's School of Hard Knocks, and I went there, and that was it. He just said, it's real simple. He goes, you don't pay, you don't play. And it's $25 a session. You know, it's 4 sessions a week. You know, every time you come in, check in with me, pay your due, and then you can get in the ring. I said, all right. So I signed up there, and that was it. I just started training, and the bumps and everything, and, you know, people say, oh, it hurts, and it does at first, you know, like hitting the ropes. You know, you get those big welts in your back, lower back, and, you know, high on your shoulders and stuff, just so where your body can get acclimated to the beating that it takes, hitting the turnbuckles wrong, and, you know, all that stuff. So those things were difficult, but the footwork, the rolls and stuff like that, and once I got the technique of bumping, I was pretty okay with it, because I had gotten thrown in wrestling practice, you know, so much. You just kind of get used to the falls, and we did 3/4 rolls and stuff in amateur wrestling, so that really helped me so much, because I was one of the smaller guys, obviously, needless to say, so I was getting tossed around left and right. But once I learned how to bump correctly, you know, in a couple of weeks, I was good. Like, guys would use me for everything, and I would take everything all the time. Like, to this day, I still, from that training and stuff like that, I'm used to, like, you know, oh, I'll do this for a finish. Yeah, that's fine. I'll take it. You know, I used to, when Rocky and I used to team up, I used to kind of volunteer to take finishes all the time, just because it was no big deal to me, you know. So I kind of kept that mental toughness.
Absolutely, and definitely, I think that that translates into your matches. I definitely think, but so we talked some about your training and all that good stuff, but what was it like when you first had your first match? Because I'm sure that was an interesting time to have a first match after all that training.
Yeah, I remember being excited just to have a practice match. Like, in practice, you know, practice was 8 to 11, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and then 9 to 1 on Saturdays. And I remember, I think it was a Tuesday night, they were like, hey, let's do a practice match, like a tag match. And I was so excited. I was like, you know, that was the first time I could get in the ring and try stuff out, and, you know, people would take stuff from me. So that was a memorable moment, even, you know, because I was so, like, I was, in my mind, I was doing it, you know, like people say, oh, chase your dreams, and, you know, you want to achieve this and you want this and that. But in my mind, like, I almost, like, at that moment remember I did it. Like, I'm a wrestler, you know, and so I did well in practice matches. We would do them maybe once or twice a week, but I remember finally when I was picked for one, I was so excited. I thought that was a huge achievement for, like, you know, I did something good, you know, and I'm sure it was god-awful or whatever, but I knew I bumped well, you know, and the guys like bumping me, so, you know, like, I did a lot of that in the matches, in the practice matches. And then I remember I would always go, you know, by 1 o'clock on Saturdays, we'd break the ring down and load it up in the truck, and we would go to whatever show that the company had that night. So it was up in Lancaster, California, like in the high desert. Like, it was like this grungy TV studio where they would just do, like, you know, like terrible, like, you know, small little, you know, regional television tapings and stuff. So they set the ring up there. It was probably maybe 100 people, if that, and this like basically like this big shed warehouse thing. And somebody wasn't coming, so this guy, Phenomenal Phil, he needed an opponent, and everybody's like, oh, you know, Reyes is here, you know, throw him out there. So I just had like a singlet, you know, and that was it, like my wrestling shoes and knee pads and stuff. And I remember all the guys were like, oh, man, but, you know, Phil's stiff, you know, be careful, you know, like, he's got a big head, he thinks he's, you know, if I suplex you off the top rope, and I was like, I don't care, whatever, like, let's do it. I was just excited, but scared, but excited. But once you got in there and you started moving around and taking bumps, it's kind of like, I trained every day, like 4 days a week for hours and hours every day. So once I started hitting the ropes and getting thrown around, it was kind of like, okay, I'm familiar with this, same ring. I'm familiar with the moves and stuff, and took a couple crazy things off the top, and, so it was okay. I mean, the build-up and the anticipation of it's the worst, you're getting ready to throw up before you go out there almost, and it's like 60 people out there standing, like it's nothing,
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's intimidating at first, but you start getting in the ring, you start moving around, you start realizing, okay, it's the same ring I'm always in. Like, it's just, but yeah, like that, I remember that day like it was yesterday.
Absolutely. So, I could tell from talking to you that you love training, you love learning, and from what I can hear from other people, that you love learning, you love training anywhere you go. So, early in your career, you went to Mexico and trained with CMLL and Negro Casas. What was that like?
Well, first I trained under Antonio Inoki at the dojo, and we did a couple tours for New Japan, and then Black Cat, his brother works in CMLL office, and that's the connection between New Japan and CMLL. So we were over on tour with New Japan, and he asked if I would go to Mexico City, and I said, yeah, absolutely, So they kind of sent us down there like as one of those like learning excursion type things. So I was originally trained directly under Antonio Inoki, and then we went to New Japan and did some tours there, and I don't think we were up to par with what they wanted. There was two different ways of look at the time in New Japan. There was a power struggle. I don't know if a lot of people know, but like there was Inoki's version, and then there was Chono's version. So Inoki's version was, or his vision of New Japan, what he wanted was what was old UWFI style, like the work shoot guys. So a lot of the Pride guys kind of bled into New Japan, like, 2002, 2003, and 04, up to 05, I think, maybe 06-ish, because Pride was so huge at the time, and Inoki was part of Pride as well. So he liked us to do like a work shoot style, but then Chono hated it, like he just despised it. So he wanted it to be more like a WWE style wrestler, just classic pro wrestling. And then you had like Liger was more like strong style, like junior heavyweight, wanted it to be what it was, like the juniors back in the late 90s, mid 90s, the super juniors and stuff like that, where everybody was pretty solid and stiff and wrestled more than pandered to the crowd. So at the time, Chono and Liger were our bosses basically, and they were just kind of like we were Inoki guys, which kind of wasn't good for us. So, and I I totally bought into what Inoki said, because he was there, a couple times a week at the dojo, kind of expressing to us what he wanted, his vision. So I figured, well, he's my boss, and, I see him all the time, so I'm just going to do what he tells me to do. And that's kind of what the Inoki office was telling us, like, just do what Mr. Inoki says and everything will be fine, not really knowing that it wasn't fine, like Chono hated it, and Liger didn't care for it. So it ended up just kind of like, hey, just go to Mexico for a few months, So we ended up doing that. And I missed the first leg down there because it was a 6-month thing. The first 3 months I did an MMA fight prior to going to Mexico, and I blocked a kick with my arms, and my arm was snapped in half, like it just shattered my arm. So I was in a cast for the first 3 months. The guys went down, and I was supposed to be on that trip. So TJ Perkins ended up taking my place. And then when they came home for 2 weeks, and then they were going back for another 3 months. And then TJ didn't want to go back. He was, I don't really like it. So okay, well, I'm healed up. I'm ready to go. So I went back for the last 3 months of the year of 2003, and we won a Tag Team of the Year, voted by Super Luchas magazine and CMLL fans. And then when I first got there, I hadn't been in the ring. You know, my arm was still tender, so I trained with Negro like every day, and just got comfortable with. He understands everything. Like he's like a genius when it comes to pro wrestling. So he understood that I had a different style and not to wrestle like a luchador, and then just kind of mix in my style with, and that's what makes me special, because he's like, oh, well, if you go out there, Karana, you can't do it better than Volador. So why even do it? Just don't do it. And I was like, oh, well, do it. And he's like, no. He goes, if you don't do this stuff, don't do it. He goes, you're not going to do it better. And I never really thought of it that way. I was just trying to do what everyone tells me. I was big on just kind of taking whatever anyone tells me to do and working hard at trying to make them happy. And that was like the first time it clicked. Like, wow, okay. Like, yeah, like I don't want to do hurricanranas and head scissors and topes. I want to suplex and kick and you know, and forearm people, you know. So he was like, yeah, that's why you're different, you know, and you keep that unique style. Just learn to. That was like an amazing learning experience. And Vampiro, trained with Vampiro and Shocker, like all those guys were at the arena every day. So we would get up, you know, and go to the gym in the morning and lift, and then, you know, just be there from like 12 to 3, and then, you know, hop on the bus and go wherever we were booked that day. So it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It sounds like, obviously, like you said, it sounds like it was a fantastic learning experience that kind of helped mold you into what you wanted to do. So you mentioned New Japan, of course, and you mentioned how that transitioned into you going down to Mexico. So I have here in my notes that you also spent time in the LA New Japan Dojo. And you were in that dojo with guys like Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson. So what was it like to be a part of that group?
At the time, I mean, even today, we're all just friends, like, you know, just regular. Like, it's great to see where everybody is now, you know, and when I see, you know, Bryan on TV, I just see him for what I know him as, like, just like a dorky, you know, wrestling nerd like me, you know, like, we all lived together, you know, we all starved together, you know, 'cause we had to be at the dojo every day, so none of us had jobs. Like, whatever we made wrestling was how we survived. They gave us a place to stay. Like, there was dorm rooms in the dojo, but it was very old school style, like traditional style. Like, you lived upstairs with a little mattress, you know, in your corner, you know, room type of thing. And, you know, they made food for us every day, which was rice and this stuff called chanko and, you know, stuff like that. But, I mean, you know, we were basically poor for like 3 years. You know, we were living in Santa Monica, which was great. But then we go on tour, and then you try to save all that money, and then, you know, ROH started booking us and stuff like that. But, I mean, at the time, we were also kind of like all, you know, becoming big names in ROH. Like Bryan hadn't won the belt yet. Joe had the belt when we started, and then 2 months later, me and Rocky beat Punk and Cabana for the belts. So we had like Bryan, you know, was, you know, the American Dragon, and then we had Samoa Joe, who was the reigning world champion in ROH, and then Rocky and I were the reigning world tag team champions at the time. So we had all of us living in one, you know, in one gym in Southern California together. And then TJ Perkins was there, you know, and so, I mean, we kind of all just kind of grew up together. Like, it was a unique experience, you know. Like, at the time, you don't know it, you know, you just see, you know, Goofy Bryan sitting there reading a book, and, you know, Joe punching a bag, and I'm lifting weights, and, you know, we're just kind of just being ourselves. And now you look at it and you're like, you know, like, I just see like Nakamura, like, he used to train with us, you know, he lived with us for like 6 months, you know, and Lyoto Machida, the UFC champion, he trained with us for like a year, and, Ken Shamrock used to come in. Josh Barnett used to come in, and work out with us. Don Fry, you didn't know who was going to walk into the dojo on any day. Ken Shamrock I remember one day we were just sitting around throwing kicks, and Ken Shamrock walked in, and you know what I mean? It was absurd. Boss Rutan. I went to Japan with Boss Rutan 3 times, and China and X-Pac and Diamond Dallas Page all came by. It's just it was just silly how many big stars would just kind of trickle in like no big deal, like Mark Kerr, so I mean, it was cool because it was fun. Every day it was different. You learned a new discipline every day. We had a schedule. Ken Yasuda is a pro bodybuilder. He would come in on Fridays and teach us different lifts and talk about nutrition and stuff. And we'd go to World's Gym in Santa Monica with him, and he trained us, do a little circuit for an hour or something, and it was just cool. It was just, I mean, it was, now I look back at it and I was like, man, what a time, and the things I got to do and the people I got to meet, it was you couldn't pay, you couldn't pay for that stuff. You know what I mean? We'd walk into the gym and Inoki would be coming in and there'd be press, 50 people from Japan just wanting to listen to what he had to say. The people would fly from Japan to LAX and then come to the dojo, take pictures, and he would stand outside or in the gym or something on the mats and just talk to them about whatever he wanted to talk to them about. And then they would all leave. And then Inoki would roll around with us, and then he would give our trainer $500 and say, take the boys out to dinner. And then he'd leave, and then we'd go out to Huntington Beach and just drink and eat and party all night, and it was the boss said, have a good time, so that's what we're going to do. It was insane. I don't even know how to explain it. My life was I didn't, we're all working to get better. That's all we cared about. No one in that dojo ever said, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be in the WWE. That was never our goal. Our goal every day was to get better at what we were doing. That was it. No one had the mindset of, man, I got to get $1 million before I'm done with this. No one said, man, I want to go to WrestleMania and headline WrestleMania. No one said that. We just wanted to get better. We were so hungry and determined. And when we went to other shows, we went to ROH, we kind of stayed a little bit of a cliquish because we felt like we were better than everybody else because we trained harder than everybody else. No one put the time in that like we did, because everyone else, they were doing other things during the week. They cared, but they just didn't get the beat down that we did on a daily basis. People tend to forget that. We weren't trained as pro wrestlers. We were trained as MMA fighters, and we had to fight every day. One day was Greco-Roman wrestling with Rico Chiapparelli and Frank Trigg, and if you don't know those guys, then look them up. They're world champion, legitimate Greco-Roman wrestlers, Then we'd have a Thai boxing coach, Al Stanky, who used to do Vitor Belfort's hands and Oscar De La Hoya's hands. He would come in and teach us boxing. Every day was a different trainer, and that's what we had to do. There was no option. There was no, I got to go to work. There was no work. It was our work, And if you brought home $100 from that weekend, then that's what you had to buy food and do laundry and gas, and that's just how it was. It was probably without that, I probably would have honestly there's times where you just figure, it's just wrestling thing isn't working out for me. I think I'm just gonna call it a day. You hear about it all the time. Oh, indie wrestler quote unquote retires, or life hits you in the face. Oh, I got a kid now, I got to do this. It's none of that was in our minds. It was just get better. That was it. It was crazy.
Definitely, and I think that's incredible, really. That's not something you hear about a lot anymore, is these people who are not very dedicated to what they're trying to do, and I can definitely say, I can hear the dedication just when you tell a story about it. So, but obviously that dedication, it made you go places. you have that dedication, you have that training, and like you said, you worked in Mexico, New Japan, you worked in Ring of Honor, but after Ring of Honor, you worked in Puerto Rico for Carlos Colon and WWC, and I've heard before in interviews that you said that this was like a dream for you. So do you want to tell us about your time in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, that was amazing. Like, the way the Puerto Rico thing worked out was Steve Carino is a good friend of mine, and when I had left New Japan, had a bit of a falling out, I started with Hustle, which was Pride's pro wrestling division. It was more like a gimmicky stuff, kind of like a freak show type of thing. Only Japanese fans would get it. But one of the partners and where they got talent from was 01. And I had originally, before I even started with New Japan, Hashimoto had picked me and Samoa Joe to go to 01 in 2001, maybe, right when the split happened. Hashimoto came to the U.S. with Mr. Nakamura, who was like his right-hand guy, the president of 01, and Hoshikawa, who's now retired because he was paralyzed.
Okay.
And I wrestled Hoshikawa, and I had an awesome match with him. And I remember Hashimoto was super impressed, and with me and Joe were like the first two picks. But then Rick Bassman pushed Nathan Jones and Tom Howard and John Heidenreich to go over, because they're big and giants, whatever. So Hashimoto was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And then, so from that, I went to New Japan. The dojo opened up, and I just moved in there, and that was it. I just made up my mind. I wanted to be New Japan anyway. So I eventually left New Japan, and I went over for Hustle for like they would just do like long weekend tours stuff. So I did a few of those, and then 01 was like, oh, are you still with New Japan? I said, no. And they were like, oh, okay, great. So I remember I was at Corcoran Hall, and the 01 president, Nakamura, was like, oh, no more New Japan? I said, no, I'm freelance now. And he goes, oh, okay. And he grabs one of the ring announcer guy, and he said, please, and he tells him something. So they take me to like a photo booth, and I get passport pictures for my visa, and they processed the visa for me like while I was there, and then I started working for 01. Well, I did a few tours of 01 with them, and then Steve Carino was a huge star in 01, and I went over in 2008 with him, and he had just started doing a couple tours with Puerto Rico, and I asked him, I said, is there any way I can get on something like that? I said, I'd really like to wrestle in Puerto Rico, and he was like, well, let me talk to Carlos the next time I go. So this was October 2008. We went for a couple weeks for Hustle and 01, and he said he would talk to him. So he emailed me the next couple weeks later, and he said, okay, here's the offer they can give you. And I was like, yeah, it was low money, but it was every week, I was getting paid, and it was 6 weeks. So I said, great. And he said, it starts, January 3rd. I said, perfect. 2009. I said, all right, great. So I, was doing some personal training at Gold's Gym at the time, so I quit. And I said, oh, I'm going to Puerto Rico, and, maybe when I get back, I'll come back to the gym. And they were like, okay. So I, board my flight. I get to Puerto Rico. I get off the plane, and I'm like, oh, my God. I'd been living in Pennsylvania now for 4 years and hated it, just absolutely hated it, because I'm like a Southern California boy all the way through. So I got to Puerto Rico, and I was like, I'm never leaving here. It's like paradise, So I remember I went to the show, which was their start of the year, their new season. They have this big blow-off show, big super show to start the year. And I remember I walked into the building. I saw Carlos in his office, and I kind of waved, and I didn't know what to do. I was so nervous, and a couple of the guys in suits that look really important were sitting with them, and I'm like sweating, like, oh man, there's fucking Carlos Colon, how awesome is that? So I go to the locker room, and then Carino comes running in, maybe a few minutes later after I say hi to everybody, whatever. And he goes, oh, man. He goes, I got some bad news. And I'm like, what? What could be bad? It just freaking walked in the building, you know? And he's like, well, I kind of lied and told Carlos you were like 6'2", like 230. And I was like, what? Like, are you? I said, tell me you're kidding. And he's like, I wish I was. And he just passes me on the shoulder and walks away. And I'm like, Steve, what do I do? And he was like, go introduce yourself. And I'm like, the dude's wondering where the rest of me is. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. And he just, like, walks away. And I'm like, I can't believe this is happening to me, you know. So I don't know what's happening now, you know. And I just start panicking. I'm like, fuck, I quit my job. Like, what am I going to do, you know? He might tell me to go home tomorrow or today, you know. So I walk in, and he gives you that $1 million smile. Carlos is like, oh, I'm so happy you're here. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy to be here, you know. My trainer was Kevin Quinn, you know, helped train me. And, you know, him and Chris Daniels they were big in Puerto Rico back in the day. And Val Venus and all them, there was like a little clique they had. And I said, oh, my trainer Kevin says hello. He goes, oh, I know Kevin. Yeah, he's a good guy. Great wrestler, you know. And I said, yeah. And I said, okay, I'll see you later. I'm going to get ready. And he goes, okay, good luck. And I said, oh, thanks. So I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm supposed to have like a squash match, like originally, and someone didn't show up, so I ended up getting thrown in a tag match. So it was cool. Like I went out, like the guy, Hurricane Castillo, he was one of Los Boricuas, you know, in the late 90s and during the Attitude Era. He is one of those guys that kind of lives his gimmick, you know, so he comes in, and I'm wrestling him and another guy, Rico Suave, in the tag match. So Rico's really cool. You know, he kind of told me what he would like to do, and I told him, yeah, whatever you want, you know, I'm down. And then he goes, well, Hurricane, man, you got to be careful because, you know, he's one of those old school shooters. He's going to try you out there, you know, to see what you're all about. Apparently there was a story, one of the other, you know, foreign guys, that he bladed him coast to coast, and he was gushing blood, and they rushed him to the hospital and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, like this dude's gonna, you know, like he's gonna try me, you know. And I just, like, not that I was scared of him, I was just scared that like I would, you know, like break his arm or something. Because like my problem always has been like not, you know, like defending myself. It's just like bringing myself back down from, you know, getting to that level. You know, like if I get really mad, it's like, it's hard to control me, I guess. And I was like, well, I didn't want him to like kind of, everybody was saying he was going to shoot on me on the ground. Because the first thing he told me was, oh, maybe we'll do some wrestling. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And I'm like thinking, well, if I lock something on, like I'm such a habit of just kind of like hurting somebody. So I was more nervous for him than it was for me. And knowing that Carlos is already like, hey, this guy's a midget, you know, like what the hell? So then I'm thinking, for sure, I'm going to get stabbed here, too, like, you know, so this isn't going to be good. So I remember we went out, did some chain wrestling, and he kind of clamped on pretty tight on some stuff. But as soon as I felt anything snug, I would, like, hip throw him, or I'd shoot, like a low ankle pick or something. I remember a couple of times I kind of, like, exploded out of some stuff, and he eased up real fast and was super light with me after that. And the match came off great, apparently. I mean, I don't know. Everyone liked it, and then I remember going to get paid that night, and Carlos gave me an envelope or whatever, and he said, oh, I'm happy you're here. You know, he goes, you did a good match. He goes, Castillo hasn't worked that hard in years. And I said, wow, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, you brought something out in him, and that's great. And he goes, and we need that. He goes, these guys are all coasting here. You know, got a bunch of old guys. He goes, I need someone push these guys. And then the young guys, they don't get it. You know, and the new style he doesn't like the spots and the moves and the flips, and a couple guys are like, yeah, can I hit you with a Canadian Destroyer? And I'm like, no, like that's not going to happen. Sorry, like unless you're Petey Williams, no, we're not doing it. You know, you're Puerto Rican. You know, don't do a Canadian Destroyer. So like that was the most amazing experience for me because it was still an old school schedule, not as heavy as it used to be, but we would do Fridays and Sundays were house shows, and then Saturdays was TV tapings. But the Fridays and Sundays, they were still done in the baseball stadiums, even though there was only like a few hundred people, right? But it was still kayfabe locker rooms. Like the heels would be all on one side of the stadium, and then the faces on the other side, you know?
Yeah.
And you just, like, like you just knew who you knew who you were wrestling when you got out there, and then the ref would tell you who's up. And the real tricky thing about it for me, I don't know Spanish. First off, people think I do, but I don't. So the referee would say, "Ricky, up 20 minutes," and I said, "Oh, okay." But the guy coming out was like an indie guy, because a lot of the big names didn't do house shows; they just showed up for TV. And I'm looking across the ring. I don't know who this guy is. He's scared shitless, and he doesn't speak English. So the ref kind of speaks a little bit of both, but it's not enough to, like, call spots. You know what I mean? Like, and they're so lazy there, you know, like they think the house shows are just nothing. But I don't work that way and never have. So I'd go out there and I'd just be chopping meat and just beating the shit out of these guys for like 15 to 20 minutes, give them a sunset flip every now and again, superplex, brainbuster. That was home. Like, we were done. Like, you know what I mean? So I really learned the biggest thing I learned there was finding out what I wanted Ricky Reyes to be, because prior to that, I was so stuck on having these quote-unquote ROH style matches where it was like all wrestling, you know, serious wrestling guy, and that's kind of what I did and through my training with Inoki as well. We were more kind of geared in that mindset. So I kind of started to develop like what I wanted a character to be. So I got to interact with the fans because this guy's selling, not really doing much. So I had to get a reaction, you know, I had to get my heat. You know, this guy wasn't working with me enough to where the match was going to give me the heat or what I was doing in the match. I had to become a character. So I basically, like most people nowadays, I just bit what Eddie Guerrero used to do. So I would do something big, kick out, put the boots to him, hear a little bit of reaction, and then turn and crank that up. And then I would acknowledge that reaction, you know, and then started doing some hand motions and whatever, and then I'd take it out on the face, you know, and when the crowd got riled up, I knew, okay, I got to give him something here. So I, you know, I would slip slam him, you know, grab his hands around my waist and make him roll me up, you know, and then or give him like a sunset flip if he could understand what I was saying, you know, like, so I really knew, I started to learn how to control the audience really with my hands tied, you know, because I couldn't really talk a lot, you know, in my matches. So, I mean, wrestling is a universal language, right? But telling the guy what to do, you know, is a little bit difficult. And then they're indie guys, so they're not even that good. You know, they were just guys that were just local indie guys, you know, that would show up, you know. So I'm hoping that this guy knows how to do a sunset flip and won't kick me in the head, you know. And, but I did that. I ended up staying for an entire year, you know, because Carino also, like, he went to a booking meeting and Ray Gonzalez was like, oh, we should bring the junior heavyweight belt back now that we have Reyes, and then we have like 5 other guys that we're not really using, small guys, just bring the junior heavyweight title back, you know. So they ended up doing that. So that match was March 14th, 2009, and they did like an Ultimate X match, and I won the belt. It was, you know, brought back. It had been retired for maybe 2 or 3 years or something, and so that was a huge moment for me. And then in the summer, I dropped it, and then I was supposed to win it back, and then the guy just no-showed because he didn't want to lose, so he didn't want to drop the belt to me. So he no-showed the show, and then Carlos says, well, I don't really have anything else for you. He's like, Carlitos isn't coming back, and, you know, he wants a bunch of money to come back, and he won't lose. And he goes, you want to take a couple months off and come back after we iron this out? And I said, no. I said, I'd rather stay. And he was like, all right. He goes, well, come to the office and we'll talk about some ideas. So I got to go to the office. I pitched a few ideas to Carlos, which was awesome. He told me what he liked and what he didn't like, and I was like, great. And then they ended up, I guess, getting the belt back from Carlitos somehow. And he never came back to WWC, but I think recently in the past couple of years he did. But they got the belt back, and then I had a title match at September Negro 2009, and I won the belt for the second time, which was another huge thing for me because it showed that, for me at least, like Carlos putting the belt back on me. Like he could have put it. I had spent quite a few months building up this baby face, a buddy of mine, Angel, and he was getting super over. And I remember Carlos putting the belt back on me, and then afterwards he was like, yeah, I want you, to continue to teach these guys, and they need to know that you're the guy to listen to. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks. And it just meant a lot to me to be there and to know that they basically, brought back the junior heavyweight belt just for me, really, and to teach the guys. And I was kind of like the kingpin, like he would have me kind of like talk to this guy. Oh, his match was bad. Go talk to him, And I was like, oh, all right. So I wasn't an agent, but he wanted me to at least spread knowledge to the younger guys, like the smaller guys, because they were very discouraged because they knew Carlos liked big guys, and so it was just an amazing experience. And like, it was a legitimate world championship for me to win 2 times, and it meant a lot to me, and the things that I learned there, you can't learn anywhere. Like, unless you tour for New Japan all the time, you don't get that old school, hitting every town, the difference between the house show matches and TV matches, like unless you're in the WWE, it's different, it's a unique thing to do,
Yeah, definitely. It just seems like, first of all, you've wrestled for so many people that you move around and you learn all these different things, and I think when you have that much knowledge, it's the sky's the limit, really. But you also, after your time in Puerto Rico, it seems that you made some appearances for TNA. And as I think a lot of people know, there's a lot of horror stories about TNA and how they handle business. So, is there anything that happened with your time with TNA that you might be able to say is a horror story?
Well, I mean, the experience overall just wasn't good, which is sad. I think it was 2010. I think I went.
Yeah.
Because I was. Yeah, that's right. Because I was in constant contact with Terry Taylor while I was in Puerto Rico, actually. And I remember in like maybe September or October, I remember him emailing me and saying, "Let me know when you're coming back, home, and we'll talk." And I was like, okay. So eventually, at the end of November in 2009, I told Carlos, I said, I'm going to leave in a few weeks and go home. And he was like, okay. So I remember telling Terry, I said, I'm coming home, maybe in January we can do something. And so he worked it out to where he was like, I strongly recommend you do a TNA gut check, and I was like, oh, of course you do. So I signed up for one in like Virginia or something was the closest one. So me and a buddy drove down there, and they were picking 2 guys to go, and they ended up picking us. And it was D'Lo Brown and Jeff Jarrett were like in charge of it, and Jeremy Borash. And I remember we went down, and I want to say like right before a house show they had in Virginia. So they did it during the day. They individually talked to everyone and told them what they liked and don't like. So of course I'm sitting there, and Jeff's like, man, I'm a big fan, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, we're definitely going to bring you into Florida and have you do, a tryout in front of the cameras and stuff and see what we can get. And I said, all right, great. And he goes, so technically you're one of the people that I'm going to pick. And I said, all right, great, thank you, So later Terry emails me. He said, how tall are you? And, so I give him my stats or whatever. And then maybe like a couple of weeks, do you remember the pay-per-view where Jeff Hardy was like messed up, I guess? Like,
yeah, he
was
was
Victory Road.
Yeah, was he in a match with Sting, wasn't it?
Sting, yeah, and they shut the finish real fast. Okay, so I was supposed to be on that. So the week before that pay-per-view, Terry Taylor calls me, leaves me a voicemail. I was at the gym, and he's like, please give me a call back. This is, a time-consuming situation. I need to talk to you quickly. So I call him back, and I'm like, yeah. And he goes, okay. He goes, we need a partner for Hernandez to do like an LAX type of gimmick. It's between you and another guy from Louisville. And I said, okay, cool. And he goes, how tall are you exactly? He was going to be honest. And I'm like, all right, I'm on a good day, 5'7". And he's like, oh, damn it. And he's like, it's too small. They want a big guy because Hernandez is huge. And I was like, all right. So he goes, well, we do have you coming in the next month or whatever for like a dark. And I said, all right, cool. So eventually, so that opportunity came and went. And then, so the next month I go, and they have me in there for Monday and Tuesday. So they fly me out the day of Monday, and Samoa Joe picks me up from the airport. And I'm like, I remember calling him that week, and I'm like, hey, man, I guess business casual, is that what I'm supposed to dress? And he just starts laughing, and he goes, no. He goes, it is not like New York. And I was like, oh, it's not? I said I shouldn't dress like nice, and he's like, no. And then he goes, don't even worry about it. Just call me when you get out of the plane. And I'm like, all right. So I came kind of dressed nice, just for the hell of it. And then he picks me up, and we're driving to Orlando, and he's like, here's your best bet. If you do get signed to get a gimmick, that WWE will notice and hope that WWE hires you. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yes. He's like, get here, get over, and hope Vince wants you. And I was like, oh. So that was kind of bummed me out because, Joe had been like cornerstone for the company, when they started really making a big run. And he just looked deflated. Like, I just knew that all his passion for wrestling was just beaten out of him. So I felt terrible. And, ended up going to the taping, all kinds of anarchy there. I remember Chris Daniels walking up to me. He was one of the guys that helped train me, too, in the beginning. And he goes, hey, man, what do they got you doing? And I was like, oh, I don't know. They just told me to come and do a dark. And he goes, okay, I'm going to fuse dark. So he runs back and goes, dude, Red might be doing a dark. And I was like, really? I was like, dude, me and Red would kill it. And he goes, let me see what I can do. So and then he comes back and he's like, oh, they're going to have somebody else do it. Someone else is doing Red. He goes, you got a dark tomorrow. And I'm like, all right, no big deal. So I go back and sit. Red comes back with, I don't even know who the guy he wrestled, and he was pissed, and something happened, and everyone's kind of like shitting on the guy that's trying out. And so I remember I stayed with Joe that night, and remember Joe just telling me, like, look, man, he goes, this is just a paycheck. I don't care. I don't want to care. He's like, he goes, my agent does all my talking for me. I barely even talk to these people. I just show up to work. I just, and I'm like, man, like, this isn't the Joe that I, was broke with, and having fun. And this isn't the ROH World Champion Joe at all, And he's like, I just got a family to feed, and I just do my thing, and that's it. He's a completely different person now, obviously.
Yeah.
But I remember going the next day, and I knew that, I was having my dark. So it was me and Sean Daivari, and Daivari was planning on making a return as a babyface, so they wanted him babyface in the dark. I'm at catering, and Jeff Jarrett comes up to me, and he goes, can I ask you a favor? And I was like, of course. And I said, what's up? And he's like, can you be a heel? And I'm like, started laughing. I'm like, yeah, I'm a pretty good heel. And he was like, great, good enough to get him over as a face? And I said, yeah, I'm not worried about that. You're not asking me anything difficult. And he goes, really? And I said, yeah. And he was like, and he shook my hand, and he goes, hey, man, thank you. I really appreciate that. And he just kind of walked away, and I was like, that was like awkward. And so I go out, and we do like a 4-minute match. I don't know. It was terrible. And come back, and Daivari's like, that was good, right? And I said, I didn't like it. And then I think Danny Doring was our agent. He walked up to us, and he was like, I didn't really like that comeback. And he goes, Daivari kind of no-sold all his heat and just went right to the finish. He goes, it wasn't, X Division-like, And he's like, sorry, man. He looked at me, and I was like, and I looked back at him, and I said, well, don't say sorry to me. I said, because you guys brought me here to do my match to show, so I can show you what I have to offer. And I said, every time I tried to pull something out, Daivari told me, no, let's just go home. Let's just do this. Let's just take it home after this. I said, so we did what he wanted to do, which was like a watered-down TV match. And I said, you guys didn't get to see anything I can do or what I have to offer. So I said, to be honest with you, this was, nothing. This doesn't help me at all. And I remember Matt Morgan was standing right next to me, like eavesdropping. He's like slowly putting his tape on around his wrist. And I said, I'll be honest with you, the match was terrible, and I didn't call anything in it, And I said he wanted me to give him a DDT for my false finish, and that's not anything I wanted to do. And Dorian was like, okay, it's cool. He goes, no, don't worry about it. And I said, no. I said, it's fucked up because this was my shot to show you guys something, and I feel like I got shafted. And I said, then you guys want me to put him over as a huge baby face just so you guys could see if he works as a baby face. I said, so the match was for him. I said, it did nothing for me. I said, if anything, I got over as a heel, he got over as a face. I did exactly what you guys wanted. I said, but you're not going to hire me off of that because I didn't do anything, And I said, so who cares, right? And I remember Matt turned around. He split us like the Red Sea. Get up to me. I never met him before in my life. And he put his hand out, and he shook my hand. He goes, you know what, brother? Good for you. Good for you. He goes, stand up for yourself. Fuck these guys. And then turned around and walked away. And I was like, yeah, what he said, I was like, all right, and Joe's watching, and Chris has got his hand over his forehead, like shaking his head, like, oh, there goes Reyes again. So I go back to the trailer or whatever, and Red and Joe are back there, and Red goes, yo, what happened, yo, and I'm like, well, I said, and I explained everything to him, and Red's like, yo, good for you, man. Stand up for yourself, these guys, they'll just, take your soul, and Joe's like, you did the right thing. Obviously, you're not going to get a job here. And I said, no. I said, well, fuck this place. Who cares, And I said, no one else is happy here. Well, what makes you think I'm going to be happy here? And I was like, and if I'm not happy, you're going to hear about it. So fuck them, I was pissed. Like, it was a terrible experience. And then I just remember, going back to the hotel, and I just came home, and I just acted like it never happened,
Yeah.
I was just like, ugh. People bring it up, and they're like, what was it like? And I was just like, I know everyone, shits on TNA, and I don't want them to. And I don't say that stuff because it was like the whole company was terrible, because I wasn't a part of the company, so I don't know. What I do know is passionate wrestlers go there and then lose their passion. So that's not a good sign. But for me and my experience, if they would have said, hey, man, we needed a good heel tonight, just go out there and be a heel, we'll take a look at you later, that would have been another thing, right? But they didn't. They used my tryout match to see if Daivari would be good as a babyface, and obviously he wasn't because he never got rehired back. So, whatever, right?
Yeah.
'Cause even Chris Daniels introduces me to Russo, and Russo looks me up and down, and he goes, what am I going to do with another X Division guy? And just walks away from me. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I didn't care, Like, at that point, I was kind of checked out myself, Like, I was like, all right, well, no one else is having a good time. All my friends there were kind of just bummed out, which was, so that was that.
No, I understand. And I think I've read a lot of interviews. I've talked to some people who have been around that, and definitely people are pretty synonymous in saying that, generally speaking, there was not a whole lot of positivity there. So
yeah.
I think moving on with you kind of, after that, you did your own thing, but then eventually you ended up working for working for a company that was actually a positive influence, I would hope, which is Lucha Underground.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it like, having done everything that you've done up to this point? What is it like working for Lucha Underground?
Well, it's pretty awesome, and it's really unique because it's not a wrestling company. It's a television series about a wrestling promotion, and people, because it's pro wrestling, they just categorize it as a wrestling company. So what's awesome is we're not treated like a wrestling company or wrestlers, I guess. We're treated like movie stars, like television stars, so it's pretty amazing. And I was the first wrestler to sign a contract with Lucha Underground, actually. All the office guys call me 001 because that's my employee number there. And Eric, and who's the producer, and DJ, who's the head writer, like, they always call me their number one, because they were like, well, if no one else was going to sign on, he goes, there was going to be an hour weekly show of Ricky Reyes, so I'm pretty proud of that. I remember WWE was semi-interested in me, like, a year prior to signing with Lucha Underground, and I remember I called them before I signed with Lucha Underground because Canyon had said that they wanted me for the Cruiserweight show on the network, and so the network came and no Cruiserweight show for a while, and then Lucha Underground came, so they called me on a Friday, and I called Canyon the next day, and he said, right now we just don't have the room, and we're building NXT and it's going to grow, but we just can't have a whole bunch of wrestlers doing nothing right now, and paying everybody. So I signed with Lucha Underground. One of the writers called me, or the producers called me Monday. We talked everything out. Tuesday I got emailed a contract, and I signed it and sent it Wednesday morning, and that was it. And then I just sat and waited because for me, they gave me the money I wanted. Like, they offered it to me. I didn't ask them. They were like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to 40 episodes, and we're looking to build this, blah, blah, blah. They were like, here's the money we have to offer, and then they gave me a bunch of other things I didn't ask for, and I said, yeah, that's what I want, and I was like, what? Like, thinking, are you kidding me? And so in Hollywood, they just pay for everything. Not too many wrestlers get like per diem, when you go to New Japan, you get per diem there, but okay, well, we're having you in for 5 days, and for those days, we're going to pay you, X amount of dollars every day just to be here, and you're like, oh, all right, so you get treated really well and stuff like that, which is awesome. But I remember, I guess I was just kind of had like this huge chip on my shoulder that I remember when I signed that contract and I sent it, I thought, all right, this is going to be my way of telling every other person that ever turned me down, like, it's your loss. So I looked at it like I wasn't grateful. I thought Lucha Underground should be grateful because they're getting Ricky Reyes. Like, in my mind, that's how I thought of it, and I thought it doesn't matter who else is there because I just had this thing where I was just going to go out and just be the best all-around wrestler that they had on their roster. I didn't care who from Mexico they brought, Japan or wherever else, or the Indies, anywhere else. I just had this huge chip on my shoulder that I was going to be the biggest, best wrestler there. Like, maybe not the biggest star, but I knew that I would earn locker room's respect as far as like being like the best wrestler. Like, I wasn't going to settle for anything less. So I remember the writers had called me, DJ and Chris had called me, and they had me like on a speakerphone, and they were like, hey, we just want to call you and, get to know you a little bit. And this was before we started taping. So they wanted to know my input on characters. And I said, okay. So originally I was supposed to be Son of Havoc.
Oh.
So DJ was like, well, here's the thing with that is, like, we like your facials. Like, your facials are awesome. Like, like when you're mad and you're mean and stuff like that. Like, you express yourself well in the ring, and we don't want to put a mask on you. Do you have any ideas of what you would like to wear? And he goes, I have an idea for you where you're kind of like a street, like, thug type character. We might put you in a little clique or gang or something. And I said, okay. And I always wanted to do like the cargo pants tucked into my kick pads and like do the black gloves, you know, kind of like a sniper type of thing, you know. And I said, I kind of always wanted to do that. And he was like, do you have anything like that you can show me? And I said, yeah. I was like, I could email it to you. And he goes, okay. So I was like, that sounds cool. And he goes, please send me some pictures. So I remember I told my wife, I was like, oh, awesome. They're going to let me do what I want to do. They were going to have me do a mask, like a comedy gimmick, but I'm not going to do that. So I jumped in the car. We ran down to Walmart. I grabbed some like camo cargo pants, some black baseball gloves, and I came home. I, you know, tucked my stuff into my gear, and I took some pictures, and I sent it to DJ, and he replied back within seconds, and he was like, yes, perfect. See you in October. Bring it. And I was like, oh, awesome, you know. So that's kind of where the whole look came about. Like I changed my gear and stuff like that, and I just remember, So they gave you a lot of freedom, like especially in season. Still to the day, I mean, because I've been there the longest, I think I have the most, longevity relationship with DJ and stuff. I mean, except for like Chavo and Johnny Mundo, like worked with them in WWE. But when it comes down to like what he wants Lucha Underground or how he sees Lucha Underground, like I really understand it. Because some of the guys, the older guys like that, they're kind of set in their own ways. Like they kind of bring their own thing there and then kind of expect everyone to adapt. But for me, I can adapt really well to any style and any mindset of like creating something. And plus, like for me, I'm a little more of this era, I guess, you know, like this newer style. Like I bring like an intensity, but I can do the high spot stuff. But I know where the high spots go to get the most out of them. So I got like American WWE psychology, but I've trained and wrestled in Mexico City, so I know where the big high spots should go, I guess. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah. I branded myself Strong Style Lucha, which I take pretty seriously because, like, I was trained originally in a Lucha style, and then I was trained, you know, and I really got into my head, like, a Strong Style wrestling, the realism of a match, of a fight, you know, and then I kind of mix it all together in Lucha Underground. So I could get my character over while doing nothing and looking mean and beating the hell out of somebody, but then I can base them and get all their high spots in when I make the crowd ready for that. You know what I mean? So, like, I really pride myself on being, like, a ring general when I'm in there. Like, I can read everything. I can read the guys. I can read the energy of the crowd. I'll give it to them when I want them to have it. So I tease them with it, then we give it to them, and then it, boom, you know. So they really let me be free in the ring, even though sometimes we're time constricted because of the amount of matches they try to get in. They try to get in 3 or 4 matches a show. We're only an hour show, and then the segments in the back are very important, and, you know, so like the matches sometimes 2-3 minutes. Guys are like, bitch and whine, let me get 3 minutes tonight. Like, yeah, but look, you cut out the arm drag head scissor bullshit in the beginning. Like, they know you're a good guy. You know, let's go to the heat, fucking hit that comeback, high spot, boom, big move, 1, 2, 3, we're done. You know, like, it's a good 3 minutes. Like, you know, we're not to beat a dead horse here. I don't have to kick out a 9 Hurricane Ranas. You know what I mean? Like, get over the bullshit. You know what I mean? This is American TV. You know, so I kind of take my role, like, a little serious, like, when it comes to stuff like that. Like, I tell guys, like, look, man, I know you did it this way, but it didn't make any sense, so we're going to do it this way. And sometimes you get a little heat from the Mexicans because, you know, they like to get all their shit in and then some. But I don't care. Like, I tell Chavo and Vampiro and all those guys, I don't care, man. I'll be the bad guy in the locker room because, A, no one's going to step up to me and say anything. And then, B, you know, I'm right. Like, I know I'm right. And if you got a better theory or a better reasoning and it makes more sense than what I'm making, please tell me so I can steal it and use it for myself too. Yeah. But if it doesn't make sense, we're not going to do it. And I already got in trouble and it only takes one time. Chavo said, look, man, that was too much crap. You know, you guys did too much. And I said, yeah, but all the Mexicans want to get their shit in. And he's like, it doesn't matter. It's not Mexico. He goes, do things the way they want it done here. He goes, that's why you have agents like, myself and blah, blah. He goes, but you know better. He goes, stop being a nice guy. And I was like, all right, cool. And it's not to be purposely mean, and I'm not purposely mean. Like when the guys want to do a lot of cool stuff, I'm like, okay, where should we put this, and how do we get the most out of it? And then I want to do this, and I'm like, look, we got 3.5 minutes. Look, let's make that special. Let's worry about that. Let's look for a camera and get the characters over. And so it's kind of a struggle a little bit, but it's so much fun. You know what I mean? Because every day is a challenge. It's not like going to another place and you're just like, oh, I got 3 minutes, and it's so generic, watered down. If you're gonna be WWE, don't go to WWE Light. Go to WWE. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you don't want to be WWE, then you want to be Lucha Underground, which is completely off the wall, bonkers, crazy, insanity. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
you're either going one end or the other. And that's why guys like Mundo reinvented themselves. He's doing his same stuff, but at such a higher level. You know what I mean? Because he's so creative. And it's like the first season he was kind of just kicking it into gear, and then we got serious in season 2, and then season 3 is just like absolute. Like you guys haven't seen anything yet. Like season 3 is absolutely insane. I know we're only halfway through it, but it just goes out of control. Like if people like season 3 now, the second half of season 3 only gets more nets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've been trying to keep up on it, and definitely, for people who are listening, if you don't watch Lucha Underground, I know a lot of people, they watch, the WWE, the Raw, the SmackDown, but I think you get a different kind of flavor when you watch Lucha Underground, and I think it's a flavor that people need to taste more often, because I personally think it's better than that, pardon my language, but that kind of mainstream bullshit. So, obviously, I can be a little more critical than that. But as we kind of wrap up this interview, what are some of the goals of yours for 2017?
It's always the same. Like, I just want to get better. I don't really make too many, like, quote-unquote goals, and I'm not like a New Year's resolution guy,
Yeah.
It's always the same for me, I just want to be recognized as what I feel I am. It's like one of the best all-around wrestlers out there. Everyone's got, everyone has their own taste, like you like certain flavors. You like ice cream, but some people like chocolate, some people like vanilla, but it's ice cream, so it's good. You know what I mean? And I feel like that when it comes to wrestling. Like a lot of people, I just want to stay busy. I like staying busy. I'm super busy now. I'm happy with what I have. I'm just looking forward to getting through season 3. The Netflix thing starts in the spring, and just hoping that the company just grows and gets bigger, which we are on the verge of. And we already confirmed a couple other big announcements that they haven't made yet. So looking forward to when that hits mainstream media, how much more excited Lucha Underground fans will be. So I just, I just do what I have to do to get better, study more, I guess.
Absolutely.
I guess I'm going to go back and watch. I kind of got away from watching my Eddie Guerrero stuff, and I want to get back to doing that. So, that would be a goal of mine. I study wrestling every day, but I kind of just been mixing it up with, watching different stuff. But I want to get back to getting a little more of that intensity back into my style, and just being successful. That's what I shoot for. I don't. I always feel that consistency is the key to success. I'm consistently good, and that's what's made me successful. And I just want to keep that consistency up, I guess.
No, absolutely. So, I know that you were obviously you doing your current work. You have the current season of Lucha Underground, but are there any other shows or appearances you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit of everywhere. I have some stuff coming up in in Dallas, Texas on April 8th. I'll be there. I forgot the company. North American Wrestling Alliance, I think. And I'll be at WrestleCon, Florida. I have Sunbelt Wrestling in Georgia on March 18th. I forget. I'm booked up pretty full. Like, people can follow me on Twitter at Ricky Reyes 01 and Facebook Ricky Reyes and Instagram Ricky Reyes. I'm just I plug my stuff all the time in the companies that I work for and stuff. But I'm just, like I said, I just want to consistently just get better and learn more and help where I can and try new things out. And just always looking to get better and have unique, fun matches,
Yes, absolutely. So, thank you so much, Ricky. It's been a genuine pleasure to sit down and talk with you. I mean, you're a man of a lot of experience. You have a lot of stories. But it's been an honest, legitimate pleasure to have you on here and to just, peel open the brain a little bit and pick it and just kind of get to know you.
Well, thanks for having me, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, if you haven't already, watch Lucha Underground. If you haven't already, follow Ricky Reyes. You want to keep up with his career because he's huge, and I mean, personally, he's only going to get bigger. So why not jump on the Ricky Reyes train now? Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, and we'll be keeping tabs on you, keeping track of you, man.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Visit our friends at the Masked Republic. Go to luchaloot.com and luchashop.com and use the promo code DYNASTY for exclusive discounts. Come crack open a cold one and let Old Manser tell you a story.
King of Big Dog Style, Laird and Light Beer, the King of the Trailer Court, your favorite wrestler of mine, me.
This is Warner's Wisdom with Mance Warner.
All right, people, here we go. This old Manser right here on another edition of the Dave Dynasty Show. Warner's Wisdom, my part on the Dave Dynasty Show, best part of the show. Old Warner Wisdom. I'll go and tell you what edition this is, but at this point I had no idea. I do these every week for you people out here. It's hard to keep track. I'm a busy guy. I'm making towns. I'm out on the road. I'm driving around in my truck. I'm headbutting people. I'm throwing big boots. I'm throwing lariats. I'm beating people down, stomping them down, wearing my new boots, putting the boots to them. That's just the way it is, people. All right. Let me do a little rewinding here for you real quick. This is a dramatic pause right here. You hear that? That's a dramatic pause right there. Now, this is your favorite wrestler and mine, me, Big Doggy, Manser, Old Manser, King of Big Dog Style, Laird and Light Beer, Master of the Pop-Up Headbutt, the King of the Trailer Court, and so on and so forth. All the nicknames, all them coming right at you. You know them, I know them. Sometimes I forget them. I got a big old list of them. It's just the way it is, people. Now, as I was saying earlier, this is Warner's Wisdom. People, you dummies come out here, you listen to this, you learn something. I've done my good deed for the week. When I get on here and spit out all these facts, all the truth, all the wisdom for you dummies out there. Now, on this week, on this occasion, right here on Warner's Wisdom, I'm going to give some advice to the young guys out there on how to pick up the W. Something old Master does every single week. I get the W. I get the green and the white. Green and the white. If you ain't listening to this every week, that means I get my green, my payday, my dollar bills. I get my money in a white envelope. The pay window. End of the show. Old Master gets his money. So, Old Master gonna give you young boys out there, some advice, some tips on how to pick up that W every single week. Now, some people may question my methods on how to collect these paydays, how to get these W's, how to get these wins. But at the end of the day, you can either do what old Master tells you and you start getting them W's, getting them wins, moving up the rankings, getting them title shots, getting more money, start getting some more recognition. Maybe you get a t-shirt too like old Master got. And you can pick up Master's t-shirt over at Pro Wrestling Tees. Go in there, put in Mance Warner, put in Mancer, pop on up there, buy a t-shirt. See, that's called a segue there, people. That's how it's done on the podcast industry right there. Okay. First tip on how to get the W from old Master. This is one I live and die by, people. You always got to hook the tights. Hook the tights. You guys, Manawal, I yell at him every week. I'm telling him. Because see what old Master does, I get done my match, I go do commentary too. Because I love to talk. And people love to pay money to hear me talk. That's just the way it is. My advice, every single week when I'm yelling at the guys out there in the ring, after old Master already got his W, you got to hook the tights, people. You go for a nice pin. You got to keep them shoulders down. You got to hook them tights. That referee, he ain't going to see it every time. Maybe he going to catch you. That's a risk you got to take. You hook them tights. You get that added leverage. Keep them shoulders down. That's number one there, people. Hook the tights. Because you get in that ring, you got to cut that ring off. You got to pick a body part and you got to work on it. Maybe it's the arm, maybe it's the leg, maybe it's a finger. I don't know. Whatever you choose on that occasion. But when you get that fool down, like old Master says every week, after old Master gets in that ring. See, I started there for a second. I was getting all worked up, getting heated, just talking to y'all about what you got to do out there. You get in that ring, and you got to do exactly what old Master does. Old Master gets in there, and he hits a big old... Y'all know what I'm about to say, right? You know what's coming, huh? A big old wackadoo. Hit a big old wackadoo. Hashtag wackadoo. Throw that on the internet. Throw that on the Twitter, the YouTuber, the Facebook, whatever it may be. You get them down, you hook the tights. That's the first tip I got for y'all. Tip number 2, foreign object. International object, whatever you want to call it, man. You need to have maybe some brass knucks, some brass knuckles. Maybe you got a little bag of powder, some salt. Hell, maybe you got some pepper. I don't care what you got in a little baggie. Something you can throw in somebody's eyes, right? Maybe you got a nice chain. Old Master always got a nice chain on him. Maybe you got that chain in your boot. Maybe you got it in a knee pad. Maybe you got it down in your singlet, in your tights, in your trunks. You got to have something to make things even. You know what I mean? Maybe you're in there with the real big old guy, big old giant. You got to have, maybe you got your keys, man. I'm looking at some keys right here. Maybe you got your keys on you. It don't matter what it is. I'm just always saying, you need to think and be smart about this. You need to have something that you can use to take advantage of a situation. That's all Master's saying right here. Put something in your knee pad. Put something in your boot. Down in the trunks. Wherever it may be. Just have something in case you need it. A little more wisdom right there for you dummies out there. You get caught with it, you get caught with it. Maybe you did get all disqualified. Maybe you get sent out. Maybe you get suspended. That's just one of the risks that you're going to have to take If you want to get that W, get that win like old Master does every week. Number 3, you got to find yourself a real nice manager. Have someone out there, another set of eyes, another set of ears, a mouth, out there talking a little trash. Maybe they get someone's attention so you could go into your knee pad, go into your boots. I'm just saying. So, we got a foreign/international object, a manager, hooked them tights. Maybe you got a little salt, maybe a little pepper, whatever you have in a baggie that you could throw, maybe blind somebody. And then there's something a lot of people always forget about. You got a referee in there. You got the third guy, unless we in some sort of big old scramble match or tag team extravaganza, one-on-one exhibition, a classic one-on-one encounter. You got a third guy in the ring, a referee. Use him, man. At the end of the day, referee, he has heart. He's got blood pumping through his veins. He got emotions. Maybe it's she. Maybe there's a woman referee. She gonna have a lot more emotions, a lot more thoughts. She gonna run her mouth probably a little bit more than the male referee. You gotta be like old Master. You gotta take advantage of these situations here, people. Maybe you talk a little trash to the referee. As long as y'all put your hands on the referee, he or she, will not disqualify you. So maybe you talk a little trash. Maybe that referee gets a little upset. Maybe you throw that referee off their game right there because you done got in their head and they're mad at you. What happens when people lose their cool? You got to think about this. It's like you're playing chess out there. It's human chess, people. You get someone in the palm of your hand and you dictate what's going to happen. Let me reiterate that. You dictate what's going to happen in that matchup. So you go in there like, old Master, I'm always talking trash. I'm always starting up a riot. I'm always getting people very, very heated. That's where I want them. Get them upset. Get them mad. Get them angry. Do the same thing to the referee. You got a real good referee. They ain't going to lose their cool. Get a new referee, young referee. You get them heated. They're already thrown off. Now at that point, you take advantage of that. Referee gonna miss some stuff because they mad at you anyways, right? Maybe they get distracted. Maybe you do a little eye poking, a little eye gouging, a little fish hooking, a little choking. Maybe you go into your knee pad, maybe you go into your trunks. I don't know, I'm just saying. You want to get that W. Or you go out there and dance around and clap your hands and hope that the people are rooting for you, right? Because it's up to you. I'm just saying what old Master does. Try and give you a little knowledge out here for the young guys, right? Maybe you duck behind the referee. Referee gets in the middle. Referee gets moved. Big old wackadoo right there into the junk. Kick your opponent right in between the legs. Roll them up, hook the tights. Maybe you pull out some of that powder, throw it in their eyes. Referee has been moved. They're not seeing what's going on right there at that point because you've got your opponent upset too. He loses his cool. He grabs the referee. No. Referee called the bell. DQ. You win. That's a W, right? I'm just throwing some information out of my head as we're talking right here. The moral of the story here, people, you listen to Master, you get the W's, you get the payday, get yourself a t-shirt, get a little recognition, sell some stuff, get some money, move up in the rankings, get them title shots, people. Because at the end of the day, you can either go out there, clap your hands, and be a good guy, or you go out there and get the job done and get paid, man. That's on you. Old Master out here just spitting a little wisdom for you people out here. Now, I done ran down what I got so far. That's that. Next week, maybe I'll come back to this topic. Maybe answer some questions on the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, whatever it may be. I don't know. I just get on here and do what I do best, people. Drop knowledge for all you dummies out there. All right. This has been your favorite wrestler of mine, me, Old Master, King of Big Dog Style, Larry Light Beer, King of the Trailer Court. You know how it goes, people. I'm the man and you know it. Until next time, next week, on the Dave Dynasty Show, the best part of the Dave Dynasty Show. Old Master, Warner's wisdom out here, people. All right. See y'all next week, you dummies out there.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. There you have it. Little wisdom from Mance himself. Like we said, we try to bring positivity into the world of professional wrestling. And Mance, he's a bit more of a realist, isn't he? Yeah, he's trying to tell you, you rookies, you young guys, how to get those wins by taking a few shortcuts. We do not advocate old Mance's methods, but hey, it is what makes Big Dog what he is, and we love him for it. You can hear Mance every week dropping that wisdom right here on the Dave Dynasty Show. Make sure you check him out and follow him on Facebook and Twitter as well. And hey, while you're over at Pro Wrestling Tees buying the Dave Dynasty Show shirt, hey, throw a Mance Warner, Lariats and Light Beer show in there, and you can fully support the podcast. Those are cool shirts. I highly recommend getting one. So go over, buy a Dave Dynasty Show shirt, buy a Lariats and Light Beer shirt. Just buy up all kinds of shirts. Support the guys. Put a little extra money in their pocket because, hey, this is how they make a living. This is how they pay the bills, feed themselves. So give them support. Buy a shirt. So, yeah. And then we also had the great interview with Ricky Reyes there. Lots of great stories. Ricky is a great talent. Been all over the world. Done a lot. Always striving to learn and improve. And like I said, if you have not seen his body of work, go and go right now. As soon as we're done, go look up Ricky Reyes. You can thank me next week or thank me later. So yeah, that wraps it up for this week. Feel free to give us any feedback. Again, you can visit DaveDynasty.com for all of our social media links: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We're on all of them. And you can give us feedback through any method. Send us a message, tweet us. We're happy to hear from you. Or if you feel the need to send us an email, you can do that at dave@davedynasty.com. We always love hearing from you. We always love your feedback, your suggestions, love your stories. Tell us what you're seeing, what shows you're out there watching on the weekend, who you're supporting. Tell us anybody that you'd like to hear on as a guest. We will get in touch with them. We're always looking for great talent to talk to. So, let us know. Any of those methods, you can get in touch with us. We respond quickly, and we do hear you, and we do appreciate your feedback and your communications. We have another special bonus episode coming out Wednesday. This is the first of our top 5 episodes. This is where Ike and I sit down and we discuss, on this episode, our top 5 favorite wrestlers. Again, this is just our opinions, what we like, what floats our boat, so to speak. And we want you to get in on the discussion. So, again, tweet us, message on Facebook. Tell us what your top 5s are. Use the hashtag DDSTop5. That is DDSTOP and the number 5 for a hashtag. And let's hear what your top 5s are. What do you think of ours? That episode drops Wednesday, so join in on that discussion. Let's chat wrestling. That's what we're all here for, right? To support this wonderful, wonderful sport, this wonderful business. So, hey, let's talk about it. Who's your favorite? Who's your top 5? But again, that episode drops Wednesday. So watch for that through all the usual means, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed to us so that you don't miss any episode, any bonus episodes, any of the content we put out there. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you following us. We appreciate you going out on the weekends and visiting the shows, and supporting the wrestlers and buying shirts and helping these guys live their dream and pay their bills. That's what it's all about. Hey, go out there and tell them you appreciate them. Tell them how much you love them. Tell them how much what they do means to you. And like we said, let's put a little positivity back into pro wrestling. And, it's all fun, man. It's all entertainment. Let's have a good time. So we're going to get out of here, or I'm going to get out of here. I guess there's no we this week. And we will see you Wednesday with that Top 5 bonus episode. I am Dave Dynasty. This is the Dave Dynasty Show. Thank you for tuning in. And while you're out there, be safe, be good, and keep on growing. We'll see you Wednesday, folks. Have a great week.